You probably aren't getting enough vitamin D. Here's what the experts say. It's the most popular supplement on the market. But why do we need vitamin D? And why is the advice on how to get it so contradictory? Vitamin D is a key nutrient for health, helping to keep your bones strong while also assisting with muscle and immune function. But people across the globe aren't getting enough of it, making vitamin D the most popular supplement on the market. All our bodies really need to make the nutrient is sunlight. Yet estimates show up that about 25% of Americans and about 40% of Europeans are deficient in vitamin D. A problem that's also highly prevalent in the sunny Middle East, Asia, and Australia. Vitamin D has stood at the center of a wellness paradox for the last decade. Researchers can't agree on how much we need for optimal health, what levels constitute a deficiency, or what benefits, if any, supplements provide, particularly for young and otherwise healthy people. Advice on how to get vitamin D is also conflicting. Sunlight is the best source, but we are told to cover up to avoid skin cancer. Then we are advised to eat a diet rich in vitamin D, even though most foods don't contain enough of it. There are so many recommendations out there, but how do we prioritize what we should be doing and which are the most important things to do? Says Anne Capella, an endocrinologist and professor of medicine at Penn Medicine. In some ways, it would be easy if all we had to do was take supplements, but it's more complicated than that. Here's what to know about vitamin D and how to navigate confusing advice. How vitamin D does and does not affect health. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium from food, which keeps your bones strong and help prevent osteoporosis, a disease that causes bones to become thinner and less dense. Vitamin D also protects you from more severe conditions, such as osteomalacia or bone softening, and it shields kids from rickets, a disease that causes weak bones, bowed legs, and other bones deformities that disproportionately affect black children. Vitamin D also plays important roles in muscle movement, communication between nerves, and immune defenses against bacteria and viruses, according to the National Institute of Health Office of Dietary Supplements. Dozens of studies have found that treating people with vitamin D is associated with reduced risk of some cancers, type 2 diabetes, cognitive disorders, and cardiovascular disease, among other chronic, autoimmune, and infectious diseases. However, large reviews of these studies shows that most of those benefits are inconclusive or insignificant. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force in both 2014 and 2021 recommended against screening the general population for vitamin D deficiency, citing insufficient evidence to support the practice. Vitamin D has important roles, but they're probably not as broad as people says they are. Capola says that's part of the confusion behind wondering what you should be doing or taking, and how important that is. Who's at risk of a vitamin D deficiency, and what are the signs? Anyone can be deficient in vitamin D, but certain factors can raise your risk. The older you become, the harder it is for your thinking skin to produce vitamin D when exposed to sunlight, with production decreasing by about 13% each decade. People with darker skin have more of melanin pigment that absorbs the UV rays essential to vitamin D production. More on this in a bit. So naturally, they make less of it, says Harry Lim, a dermatologist with Henry Ford Health. Some estimates show that darker skin is about 90% less efficient at making vitamin D compared to lighter skin. Because vitamin D is stored in fat. Certain conditions that limit fat absorption, such as Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, and celiac disease, as well as weight loss procedures like gastric bypass surgery, can lead to deficiency. Similarly, people with obesity need 2 to 3 times more vitamin D because their bodies stored more of the nutrient in fat cells, leading to lower amounts of circulating in the blood. Capella says, as rates of obesity increase. Worldwide, we could see vitamin D deficiencies continue to rise as well. She adds, others at risk of vitamin deficiency are pregnant people, breastfed infants, people living in northern latitude that get less sun, and those taking certain medications to treat conditions like AIDS and seizures. The body turns vitamin D into its active form via two-step process that start in the liver and end in the kidney. So anyone with advanced diseases in either organ face greater risk of deficiency as well. A vitamin D deficiency diagnosed with a blood test often doesn't cause symptoms, but some people with a severe case may experience fatigue, bone pain, and muscle weakness. How do you get vitamin D from the sun? Two kinds of ultraviolet rays reach the Earth's surface and penetrate our skin. UVA is mostly responsible for tanning and aging skin, while UVB is associated with sunburns and vitamin D production. Both can cause skin cancer. For people with lighter skin, 10 to 20 minutes of sun exposure 3 times a week is considered enough to provide adequate vitamin D levels. Lim says darker skinned people required about 3 to 5 times longer exposure to make the same amount. But these general recommendations are highly dependent on the season, times of day, and latitude, Lim said.